and expanding your real estate empire without using personal credit. This is actually the business credit strategies you should know about how you can really use business credit for real estate investing. So whether you're trying to become a real estate investor or already are a real estate investor, you're gonna love this training, because a lot of what you probably have done or thought that you needed to do to get the money you need to invest in real estate is based on personal credit. A lot of the stuff are, right? DSCR loans, amongst many of the other options that are out there for real estate investors, are based on personal credit. Well, not today. Today, I'm actually going to introduce business credit, introduce how you can strategically build and use business credit to basically cover things that you never thought that you could actually be able to cover, and how you're able to do this without personal guarantees, without personal credit checks. Then we're also even going to talk about some financing options that really aren't based on personal credit, or alternative financing options that aren't based on your personal credit as well. So when you're going to leave this training, you're going to understand business credit, you're going to understand the business credit strategy to use to invest in real estate, and you're going to have some other financing options too that are not consumer credit based, that are going to help you get the money you need to invest in real estate. I mean, we maybe talk about 10, 15 different ways to do it. So we got a lot of stuff to cover. Let's dive in. Okay, so first thing is first, if you're going to invest in real estate, you still need to have an entity set up. The strategies I'm going to tell you today are based on you having an actual business and entity set up. So even if you haven't found the first property, if you're still out there just looking for your first property, you definitely want to make sure you take some basic steps to set up the entity, because if we're going to build business credit, we have to have an entity to build business credit for. So we've got to do that. And if we want to get some of these other kind of financing options that I'm going to talk about, you need to have an entity as well. So that means we want to set up an LLC or a corporation. We want to get our EIN. We want to choose a NAICS code that maybe is closer to consulting than real estate investing, right? So you can go to NAICS.com to be able to find what your NAICS code is. But again, real estate is considered to be high risk on the financial services side. So as a result of that, you might not want to choose a name for your company, or you might want to not have a NAICS code that's directly related to real estate. It might be something more general related to consulting. And then we also need to make sure that we have our basic setup for our business, a separate address for our business, a separate phone number for our business, a website for our business, an email address for our business that's congruent with the domain of our business. Some of these things you might not think that you need as a real estate investor, like a website, like an email. But these go a long way to helping you jumpstart business credit building. As a matter of fact, if you don't have those kind of things, it's going to be really hard to be able to get started to build business credit. That's why I want to cover it in this training, because there's just things that you may skip because of the nature of what you're doing. But you don't want to do that. If you're going to use this entity to get capital, we need to follow some of these tried and true methods of setting up the business the right way. Website, phone number, separate address, so separate phone number, separate address, website, professional email address, that entity, the EIN, get a DUNS number from Dun & Bradstreet. It's 100% free as well. And then if you're trying to get some of the better loans that are out there, they're going to ask for things like P&Ls, term sheets, balance sheets. So I always like to have that stuff ready in a folder on my desktop. It's the kind of stuff that you're going to need. And it's really the first step with being able to finance real estate without using personal credit. Okay, so the next thing is that we want to talk about how we can actually use business credit to do this. So when we talk about business credit investing in real estate, the way I look at it is there's two different purposes, maybe three different purposes for it. So first is you can actually use business credit to buy the initial property. Now, it's not the only way to do it. We'll talk about a few others as well. But if you're using business credit to buy a property, you could build business credit for your EIN that's not linked to your social, eventually get Visa cards, MasterCards, Amex cards. You could liquidate those cards, take the cash out, and use that for real estate purchases. You could definitely do that. Then there's also a program called Credit Line Hybrid that does require good personal credit, where you can get up towards $150,000 and take the cash out of those credit cards and get 0%. You could do this before you even start building business credit. So this is all about getting real estate without using personal credit. So why am I bringing that one up? Because you can use a guarantor. You can use somebody else. So you can go to a meetup and find somebody else that wants to invest in real estate, use their credit to get $150,000 with this program, and then you're in buying your first properties without using your personal credit. As a matter of fact, half of the real estate investors we help use this Credit Line Hybrid program to buy real estate, they are using somebody else's credit, not their own. So something to think about there. So either way, that's how we use cash to buy properties, right? We can use this Credit Line Hybrid, get 50, 100, 150,000 right now using your credit or somebody else's, or we can build business credit and then get Visa cards, MasterCards, Amex cards, liquidate those to get the cash to be able to do investments in properties as well. Now, the other purpose of business credit, and more important purpose of business credit in real estate, is on the fix and flip and buy and hold side. So if we're talking about fix and flip, business credit cards can be used for 100% of the repair and maintenance on that property. So you could use another method to buy the property other than business credit and just use business credit to do all the repairs. And that's possible because you can use business credit for Labor Ready, for IKEA, for Best Buy, for Home Depot, for Lowe's. So like all the building materials you would need to be able to do the fix and flip part of that process, you could basically use business credit cards for. You can get 30K at 30K at the Home Depot, 50K at Lowe's, for example, to do all those repairs. Then when it comes time to maybe make it into a short-term rental or a buy and hold, if you aren't going to fix and flip it, then the other side of business credit is that you can use it for all of the repair of the property, the maintenance of the property. You can even use it for the furnishment of the property, right? So as a real estate investor, you're going to do something with the property. You're going to fix it, flip it, right? Well, business credit can pay for all the repairs needed to do that. You're going to buy it and you're going to hold it. And that holding it is usually for a long-term rental. And that long-term rental might mean you need to furnish it with furniture and everything. You could use business credit to be able to buy all the furnishings for that property, right? Or maybe you're not going to. Maybe you're going to rent it long-term without anything, without any furniture or anything in it. Well, in that case, the person's probably going to do some damage to the property. When they move out in a year, you might need to replace some drywall, replace some carpet, replace some tiles, some flooring, etc. Well, business credit can pay for all that. So if you're buying, and if you've got a short-term rental, if you're buying it and holding it for a short-term rental with Airbnb, well, you definitely have to furnish it, right? We need pictures, we need TVs, we need the furniture, we need everything. Well, business credit can pay for all of that. So when you think about business credit's role in real estate, we want to think that, yeah, business credit can be used to acquire properties. There are a couple options there. But business credit is probably more suited for everything else you need. The fix and for the fix part of the fix and flip. The repair and maintenance of the vehicle of the property for long-term rental. For short-term rental, it's the furnishing of the actual property, right? Or maybe you have a long-term furnished rental. Well, that's the furnishing as well. So business credit can cover all that. Then things break down, repairs, maintenance on the property. Business credit can help cover all that as well. Okay. So again, one of my buddies, I'll give you an example. He invests in high-end Airbnb properties. I mean, he builds $2 to $3 million to build one property and then furnishes it and rents it. So he uses business credit to do the furnishing part of the property. He goes out, he gets a construction loan, DSCR construction loan, he gets it 10% down is all that's needed. And then he's using business credit to be able to do all the furnishing of the property, right? So these are some things to think about. Now, good morning, 77T Adams is in the house. Tattoo Destroyer. We use SBLs from our gold on balance sheet to buy tax liens for extra revenue stream. I love that. We'll be moving to tax deeds soon. That's really, really smart strategy. I love that. So think about this. When it comes to business credit, yes, we can use it to buy properties. We can also use it to do the repair, to do the maintenance, to do the fix part of the fix and flip, right? So we can do it for all those maintenance needs of the properties. Now, if personal credit's an issue, we can also expand off of business credit, and there's a lot of options as well. So if we want to be able to invest in real estate, but we have personal credit issues, then what we want to do is we want to focus on any kind of asset or collateral that we have or we can get from somebody else. So this could be, I mean, anything. You think about it, stocks, bonds, 401ks, it could be IRAs. It could be a business's equipment inventory. It could be a business's IP or trademarks. It could be a lease that you have on the actual business. You could have a professional license and use that to borrow against to get cash as well. You could use cryptocurrency. You could literally borrow against cryptocurrency and get upwards of 50% of the value of the cryptocurrency. So you could use vehicles. You could use real estate. You could get a blanket loan on all real estate you have. So if credit's an issue, then what we want to focus on is all the kind of funding out there, which is most funding that's not based on personal credit. SBA, it's going to look at personal credit, right? But cryptocurrency loans don't. So the question there becomes, what asset do you have, or what asset does somebody else have that you could pledge as collateral? Because there's so many different options. And maybe you have assets, or maybe you find somebody to meet up, and that person wants to actually invest but doesn't want to do the work, and you use their cryptocurrency as collateral to be able to buy the property, and that fills their role. They still keep crypto invested. They still make their returns. Now they're double dipping and using it for real estate investing. They don't have to do any work. You do the work and they have a return, right? So there's other ways other than business credit to be able to get into real estate without money down. Now, again, we haven't talked about wholesaling. Wholesaling is an easy way where you buy a property and then you just sell it to another investor, right? You just sell the paper. Okay, I do that for land all the time. I mean, literally in my inbox. I have a signed contract now for land, and I'm going to go out. I'm going to find another real estate investor, and then I'll just sell it to them, and I'll make a quick $5,000 on the deal, right? So that's another thing. Is wholesaling is where you're coming in, finding a buyer, doing the deal, getting the contract, and then you make money and then assign it to somebody else. Another way you can do it, regardless of personal credit. So now we've kind of learned about a lot of different ways. We talked about the different kind of business loans. By the way, business credit lines as well. Let's also not forget there's all kinds of hard money fix and flip loans if we're doing fix and flip, right? So, and 770 Adam says, tax liens, I saw a commercial on that yesterday. So he's actually talking to Tattoo. I love it when you guys are talking to each other. Okay. So that being said, hard money is another option as well. So there's a lot of places out there that will give you even 100% of the money that you need to buy and rehab the property. And they don't even have credit score requirements. Lima One is one of those, where if you have the right property, then 100% of the money you need to invest in real estate, they will get for you without you actually needing to have even good credit to be able to get it done. So now we've kind of talked about business credit. We've talked about setting up your business the right way to get it, the different ways you can use business credit to invest in real estate. We talked about a lot of different loan and credit line options where you can use, or you could basically get approved regardless of personal credit as well. And let's also not forget that by building business credit, it's also asset protection, right? So what we're doing is we're helping protect the asset of the business by building a credit profile. We're helping separate our personal liability and personal guarantees as well. We're leveraging all this other people's money to be able to buy and invest into more real estate as well. And again, there's all kinds of benefits here as well. A lot of the interest on this kind of financing is 100% tax deductible. So that's going to help us. And as we do these things we've talked about, well, now you're able to actually come in and be able to build a business credit profile and score. And that business credit profile and score you build helps you get term loans. It helps you get SBA loans. It helps you get other kind of loans and other kind of financing that is out there as well. So a lot of different options. You also want to keep in mind with real estate investing that we sometimes need to combine different kind of financing. So I might go get a DSCR loan and get 90% financing for my real estate purchase from that, but I still need 10% down. Then I use credit line hybrid, or I use one of these other options we talked about, crypto financing, to get the 10% down. So oftentimes a lot of real estate investors we're helping are stacking different kinds of funding options to be able to get approved. Another thing is personal loans. Maybe you don't have revenue in the business yet. Well, you could use personal income to qualify and get personal loan stacking as well. So a lot of different options here where we're able to come in and get the money we need to be able to do the initial purchase, be able to do the fix and flip, the repair, the maintenance, the buy and hold, everything to do with the property. So that being said, that is exactly how we can invest in real estate, regardless of personal credit, without using personal credit. That is really the business credit strategy. And as you see here, then the other thing is that we've also talked about a lot of ways to use other kind of financing outside of business credit and be able to even stack them and have multiple different options together to be able to invest in real estate as well. So I think you're leaving here with maybe 10 or 15 different ways that you can actually get financing to invest in real estate that are not consumer credit based. We didn't even talk about all the other kind of financing that is consumer credit based. There is a lot of it. So there's a lot of different options you have for actually investing in real estate. So if you got value from this training, smash the like button. Make sure that you share this as well. Make sure you subscribe, and then keep your eye out for our next training, because we're always talking about the coolest ways